I've heard the discussion with Loblaws recently about the price of groceries and how $25 is $1 of profit for them. But I've seen that $25 is not a lot of groceries these days. And I was wondering how the government is going to take action and lower the prices of groceries to make it affordable for every Canadian.
Listen, that is a hugely important question, and one that Canadians are struggling with right across the country. We're facing an inflation crisis right now in this country that looks like it's getting better. I mean, there is real indications that inflation will be back down to much more manageable levels by this summer. So that's a good thing. And inflation is far less and has always been far less intense here in Canada than anywhere else around the world, or most of our fellow countries around the world. Of course, for a mom who can't buy her groceries, knowing that we're doing better than Spain is like zero value in making you feel better about yourself because you can't afford your groceries. So we can be reassured that we're in a good position, but we need to do better. Now, Canada is impacted by the global pressures on supply chains that are coming out of the pandemic. We're impacted by the rise in energy prices, the challenge around fertilizer that Russia's illegal war in Ukraine has created, and knock-on effects. There are lots of things going on that we don't actually get to counter. So what our focus has to be as a government is not necessarily trying to manage and counter and control those prices so much as making sure that Canadians who are struggling find it affordable or get that extra support they need. And the challenge we have on that is, at a time of high inflation, if we were just to send everybody checks, you'd just be feeding into inflationary pressures and things would get much more expensive. So that's not actually a solution. So what we've had to do is be very, very targeted in how we help the people who need support the most. That's why through the fall, we doubled the GST credit for six months, which means 11 million households, lower middle income households, got a few hundred extra dollars. We continue to increase the Canada Child Benefit with inflation, so that families with kids have a few extra dollars, and there's hundreds of dollars a month tax-free with the support of their kids. We move forward with a $500 rental top-up for close to $2 million extremely low-income Canadians who are having trouble making rent. We also move forward with dental care for a little over 200,000 now, kids under 12 whose families couldn't afford to send them to the dentist. These are all things that help. And the big one, $10 a day childcare. And this obviously only affects families who have kids in childcare. But for those families, the thousands of dollars a year they're saving often completely offsets the increases in their mortgage or their groceries or things like that. So we're looking at all sorts of different ways of bringing down the pressures on the families by targeting in the right way those supports. But I can tell you, we've also engaged with the Competition Bureau, on top of calling in the heads of grocery stores to committee. We've engaged with the Competition Bureau to look in very, very carefully to make sure that there aren't unfair practices going on, that there isn't gouging going on, that there isn't people taking advantage of, oh, it's global inflation, so we can just hike up the prices more and hike up the profits. We need to make sure we're looking out for people on that.